Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. In this video we go through the roadmap each week, letting you know exactly what has changed. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much for allowing me to do what I do. If you do enjoy my content and find it useful and would like to support the channel even further from as little as $1 a month while getting your referral codes in my video, it is all very much appreciated. Follow the link to my Patreon page below. So, it's finally happened. The 4.1 patch has been added to the roadmap, which we will take a look at first and let you know what it shows, and then we will move on to the rest of the roadmap update. Now, it does appear to be very light in terms of content, and in the roadmap roundup post from CIG it states, and I quote, "Keep in mind that we plan on additional cards and tasks being added in the coming weeks as some ongoing discussions wrap up. To be more specific, locations and environments require the input of all other teams and what they're aiming to achieve, so they tend to be some of the last to fall into place in planning. Character tasks will also be added following locations, as the character priorities are dependent on the locations included in the patch." So we know more locations and more character cards are going to be added. We are unsure if any other cards will be added, so as light as it may seem, it's not complete. We will talk a little bit more about that later on, but let's now take a look at 4.1 as it stands today. So in AI, we have FPS realistic weapon handling. This is adding more functionality to AI to use different weapons more proficiently, also using the best weapon suited to each situation and manage ammo accordingly. We have ship AI, hazard awareness and avoidance, which is improving the AI avoidance system so that AI can identify hazardous entities such as heavily guarded zones, for example, and then steer clear of those. And then finally, FPS combat improvements and polishing. Now this is a polish pass containing the final work on behaviours and balancing, as well as bug fixing to improve the look and feel of the character combat in game. Now that's quite a big one in particular, because it kind of sounds like they will have the AI system finished by that point, so that the AI should perform and act how CIG intend them to do, making informed decisions and ranging in skill levels as well. I expect this system is heavily required for Squadron 42, so as it's coming in the third quarter, it needs to be finished for the game to transition into beta. But I think that's quite exciting. Having the AI at a level that will be releasable in a game like Squadron will be a massive improvement in our game, because at the moment they are nowhere near finished, and it's very apparent. A lot of that is to do with the server though, so fingers crossed I'll have that sorted by then as well. Hopefully we will see some insight throughout the year as to how the AI is coming along, because that's quite exciting. As we know, they will eventually make up 90% of the population in the final game, so it's very important that they get it right. Anyway, moving on to gameplay, we have improved throw, which is improving grenade throwing to make it more accurate and reliable, as well as expanding the throwing mechanic to accommodate other objects in the world. Hopefully this means we'll be able to just pick up stuff and throw them around. It will be great to use as a distraction. But personally, I'm very happy that throwables are getting attention, as they are crazy bad right now. But I would have thought this would be something that comes much earlier than quarter 3, especially if Theatres of War is supposed to be coming in the first half of the year, as Sean says they are on track for this. So does this mean that grenades in Theatres of War are going to be useless like they are in the verse? I don't know how much of this is to do with the server client rework. I do think that'll make a big difference for grenades especially. But yeah, we'll see how they feel in theatres if this is coming in quarter 3. Fingers crossed they will work fine in theatres, but I feel there might be a lot of bad frag friendly fire going on. We'll see. Anyway, object push and pull. This mechanic allows players to grab a large object and move it around an environment by either pushing or pulling it. This, I think, will hopefully bring us interactions with items like larger cargo boxes and moving them around cargo holds, or collecting them from derelicts and so forth, but also maybe things like components. This may be a requirement for physicalized components. Things like size 2 or maybe even size 3 components, moving them around engineering sections of the ship. Obviously, these items are too big to move by hand, so there could be an assisted lifting device, which we have seen in the past, like a gravity manipulator that allows you to pick up things and move them around. Hopefully we'll get a bit more information on that going forwards. But this is one of my favourite features because it opens up the doors to a lot of other areas. Anyway, next up is Missile Operator Mode. So this means missiles will now be controlled under a dedicated missile operator, which gives players the option to select and fire specific missiles while operating in ships such as the Vanguard, which allows for different types of missiles and torpedoes. So this is actually pretty interesting. It's kind of a new operator seat in ships which require it, like the Vanguard, the Retaliator, even things like the Constellation Aquila maybe. This allows players to actually select which missiles they want to fire and in which order, which is very useful, especially for combat, just ensuring that you're always using the right ordnance for the right situation, which is something we just don't have access to right now. Again, likely a requirement for Squadron 42 perhaps. Anyway, moving on to ships, we know the Mercury Star Runner is no surprise. We knew this was coming on the 4.1 roadmap. Only one ship, however, I do expect to see more make it on the roadmap, maybe even some concept ones or straight to flyable. They don't tell us straight away. Obviously, they've got some that they're working on, so we'll likely hear about them later. Now on to weapons and items. The Bearing GP33 grenade launcher, which was pushed back from a previous patch. This is at 1 out of 31, so production has started here. It should be interesting getting a noob tube. And finally for weapons, the Greycat multi-tool cutting attachment. Now this, it says, will allow players to cut through specific objects, primarily the ability to freeform cut on specific surfaces. Now I really like the sound of this. Obviously it doesn't mean every surface, but specific surfaces will be able to freeform and cut things off. Now I'm not really sure if this means salvaging per se. I'm sure this will be the device that we use for salvaging, handheld salvaging anyway, but whether it comes with salvaging as the mechanic, I don't know, and I wouldn't like to call it yet. I would like to think it may be part of the tier 0 of salvaging, but, you know, which could be just removing components and weapons, but it's more likely to be used initially for missions like the Clovis Darnley mission perhaps. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this and what you think it could be referring to. Do you think it's salvage or do you think it's something else? Fingers are crossed here. Anyway, that is it so far for the 4.1 column. Personally, I feel like CIG are being overly cautious by not putting too many features on the roadmap that perhaps not certain they can achieve. But with that said, it's not like things won't change and shift about, of course, but they are not giving up too much, as I think they know how people react to pushbacks and removals. Now there will be more items added, but to be honest, I don't take anything on the roadmap as gospel as such. It is just a guide to show us what CIG are currently focused on working towards. It will change, and I'm sure things will move and be removed and be added. So take it as it is. Do not see it as written in stone. It is a dynamic system. Now I am excited about the AI stuff, seeing that come together. The push and pull and missile operator, they will be great additions. Star Runner, of course, is going to be epic. And the new Greycat attachment opens up doors for so much more, which is great news. Looking forward to seeing more on that. But let's move on to the rest of the roadmap update. As I said, let me know what your thoughts are on the 4.1. Let's move on. So, the Carrack. It is finally in Eva Cotti's hands. They are using it, they are playing with it and testing it. This does mean it's so close to releasing, and I'm almost certain it will come with the live 3.8.2 release sometime next week. Not confirmed, not said so by CIG. This is my own opinion. I am confident it'll happen, but we will see. Currently on the roadmap, it is 90% complete with 176 tasks out of 194 done. 9 were completed over last week. 1 was added. Only 18 remaining. I will be doing a full in-depth tour looking at everything in close detail, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. Hopefully I will point out some things that you may have missed. Now 3.9, coming at the end of March. For locations, the Klesher Automated Prison is at 85% complete. 73 tasks out of 86 are done, so 3 were completed last week, but also they did add a further 3, so 13 remain. There was a good Ask Me Anything post regarding prisons that they did on Spectrum, which I will cover in tomorrow's Star Citizen Sunday, so keep an eye out for that one. The new Babbage Landing Zone is only 56% complete. 189 tasks out of 334 are done. 35 were actually completed last week, but they did add a further 32. So 145 to go. Still a long way to go there, but it's coming together well. I'm very excited to be walking around New Babbage and the exterior as well. You can, it's all open plan, kind of. Microtech's moons, Euterpe and Calliope, are at 17 out of 19, so only 2 to go with those two. Clio requires 3 more to complete. We did see more on this on Inside Star Citizen, and they are looking really nice. Very excited to see these. These are the complete Planet Tech version 4 moons. There is no previous Planet Tech gone into these moons, so it'll be interesting to see if they are different in any way, but it took them a month to complete these, which is crazy. Anyway, on to gameplay. The player interaction system improvements. This is at 70% complete. 14 out of 20 are done. 7 were completed last week. They did add another 4, and now only 6 remain. Really hope we get to see a little bit of this and what it'll involve. I do expect, as I've said before, it'll include the ability to take off and put on your helmet on the fly, which will be needed to eat and drink. It is now known that you cannot eat with your helmet on, which, makes sense. So fingers crossed that'll give us that option. The prison missions is at 81% complete. 76 out of 94 are done, with 20 being completed last week. 9 were added, only 22 to go now. Looking forward to seeing what we can get up to inside prisons. The missions should be quite interesting. Restricted area rework is at 33%. 3 out of 9 are done, 6 to go there. And then finally, the player status system version 1 is at 61%. 41 out of 67 are done. 7 were completed over this week. But 12 more were actually added, so 26 still remain. We saw a little sneak of this, or the UI of it anyway, and what we can expect to see in the latest Inside Star Citizen with its temperature and life expectancy. Looks quite nice. When we get our hands on, we'll take a deeper look. So there was a couple of pushbacks from 3.9, which included the new targeting methodology in high-speed combat. This was pushed to 4.0 due to the requirement of the ship HUD rework, which is adding the new building blocks. So it's been realigned for when the HUD rework is finished. Which, fair enough, I wasn't all that excited for it, more apprehensive than anything, but we will see that later on. Now, for ships, the Prowler is at 22%, 12 out of 54 have been completed. I don't think there is any change from last week, but there is still 42 to go there. And then finally, in Core Tech for 3.9, the Weather Locomotion is at 79% complete. 23 out of 29 are done, 1 was completed last week, 4 were added, but only 6 remain. So that's at 3.9 there, making some great progress there. Confident they'll get everything done. And I think 3.9 is going to be a really nice patch. It's going to feel like a different game, I feel, with the whole eating and drinking, which a lot of people may not like, but I personally look forward to it. Anyway, 4.0, there's only a couple of changes here. The Horizon landing zone is at 67% complete. 211 out of 313 are done. So there's still 102 to remain, but I cannot wait to see Horizon. We saw some new concept art of this a couple of weeks back while they were designing the clothing, and it does look fantastic. And finally, gameplay, the high-speed combat, as we know, which was in 3.9, is now in 4.0, is actually 90% complete. So 9 out of 10 tasks are done. 6 were completed last week, 6 were added, only 1 to go. But as I say, they are waiting on the new ship HUD rework. So that is the complete roadmap update. A lot of things to get through there with the addition of 4.1. But again, more will be added as we go. I would love to see maybe the addition of Pyro at some point, which is what they could be adding either to 4.1, 4.2. So fingers crossed. But with that said, do let me know what your thoughts are, and do subscribe for more Star Citizen content. It is coming out thick and fast, and as we approach the 3.9 release, there is going to be a hell of a lot more. We're only a month away. Very excited for that. Also, hit the like button if you're excited for the Carrack. It does help me out greatly, so I very much appreciate it. And tip that notification bell so you know exactly when any of my videos go live. We're having a blast over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers Ryan, hanging out together, talking about what's going on. So be sure to follow me over there. Big thank you again to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time.